Claire, I can see the hand up. What's your question?
Thank you very much, Richard. Well, thank you very much, Helen, for joining us this evening. So my question is around that you mentioned that you were 24 when taking over the business on the farm. So with the benefit of hindsight, what advice would you give to a 24-year-old Helen now?
What advice would I give? That first year on the farm was unbelievably stressful, and trying to, I think if I had understood a little bit more how people who have been managed in one way, how you need to shift that style more gradually, how you need to evolve your management style according to where people are. I think that was one of the quite hard lessons in the first year back here. But actually, in lots of ways, I'm proud of the 24-year-old that I was then. That I actually, did it, got stuck in. And I think that you can't, we'll always make mistakes, but young people, and I include myself then in that bracket, often if you have the confidence in your own wisdom, and give yourself, I feel we don't give enough opportunity to people, for young people to make their mark at a time when, you'll make mistakes, but you'll have the energy to get back up and get over them again. So actually my advice is more to the oldies than to the young ones. Give our youngsters their head, give them real opportunity at a young enough age, because I think that often they will usually, if they're the right sorts, will fathom it out. But yeah, that's not very helpful, is it?
No, it definitely was. Thank you very much.
Any more questions from you guys? Can't see any hands up. Hevin, I can see you've got one over there.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Helen. Just listening to your final statement there, saying that we as farmers are the leaders to revolutionize change. Do you feel that the higher authorities, such as ministries and governments, are hampering what us farmers can do to help us change and make a better living for everybody in life? Because we see now, with the introduction of the whole Wales MVZ, it's put detrimental effect on every rural aspects, really. And also, this white paper consultation shows signs of worry. What is your opinion on, about this? Thank you.
Well, I think governments have got to get the regulatory framework right, and also the economic incentives right, so that it's absolutely a no-brainer for farmers and everybody else, all businesses, to be doing the right thing. And I think that there will always be controversy about, where do you set the bar on regulation? And yet, at the moment we know, for instance, that we have a major problem with water quality still. I'm off down for my first weekend away for ages down to the Wye this weekend. And we've had a place on the Wye for the last 40 or 50 years. And that, that river is under pressure. So you can understand why, I guess, some of the those kind of regulations are coming in. Whether they should need to be as broad brush as they are, I don't know. I think there will be other people who'll be more expert in that field. So I think we will see more regulation, but I think we'll also see new sources of assistance. And I think it's up to us as farmers to be trying to make sure we are genuinely leaving the environment that we're farming in a more positive state than we take it on. And I know that still things like manure management are still quite a challenge. We need to be able to invest more in those things on a lot of our farms. So I think there are, almost regardless of what government does, I think there are opportunities around the place, and with a public that's more and more interested in farming and food and visiting the countryside, I think we can take advantage of all of those things. But I think the regulatory environment will tighten up, and in some areas, I'm afraid it probably needs to.
Right. Any more questions? I can't see many hands up there. If not, I've got a question for you, Helen. I mean, we've been through the last 14 months of COVID. How has that affected your business? Has it been positive or negative?
It's been a real mixed bag, actually. It's been an interesting one. So the farm, I guess all of our farms have, we weren't hit by the the milk price or the milk surplus problem or anything like that. So we were lucky on the farm side in terms of us being organic with the OMSCO contract. It worked very well. But obviously we've had to shut our pub and hotel, and 2 or 3 times now, and it was very hard before lockdown came in the first time around because business dried up and we were still running, we still had the rent and the rates and everything else. So the pub and hotel has had to really duck and dive and weave and do new things. And yet actually government assistance has been really strong. I think the furlough scheme and some of the grant schemes have really enabled us to keep the show on the road or to be able to reopen again in reasonable style. On the plus side, while that side's been difficult, our marketing business has been flying. So organic food has been very, very strong. Sales have been very strong through lockdown. Sales for the last year have been up 12.5% year on year. And through the routes we're selling through retail and box schemes and that kind of thing, the demand has been very strong indeed. So that business has had we've been frighteningly busy and very short of raw material at times. So it's been a real mixed bag. The difficult bit has been the hospitality sector.
Oh, thank you, Helen. I've got a question that's come through to me from Jonathan Sayre. It says, "Thank you, Helen. Great speech. My question to you is, what next? What new exciting ventures are you currently looking at without letting the cat out of the bag?"
So the thing I am probably doing most on a practical front is agroforestry. So we tend to think, I don't know how many of you have got involved with agroforestry, but we tend to think about woodlands and forests over here and our broadacre farming over here. And agroforestry is really mixing the two up, bringing trees into the farmed environment and all the benefits that can bring for wildlife, for productivity, because you get more, you're 3-dimensional farming, so you're getting a much greater yield per acre, potentially once those trees are maturing a bit. And you get the shade and shelter for livestock, lots of benefits for animal welfare, stabilizing soils, etc., as well as the carbon benefits. So we've been doing a lot of that for the last 5 or 6 years, setting up lots of different approaches to that on the farm, planting quite large numbers of some crops, so things like peri pears, and starting to look at nuts as well. So that I'm really excited by that at the sort of farm level. I'm really excited about the some of the sort of non-plough organic systems. So looking at pasture cropping, stitching our arable crops into grassland rather than ploughing everything out all the time. I think that feels like a really big breakthrough. And on the marketing front, we're looking to expand our brand into new areas. It's been largely around pork in the past, but now we're producing so much beef because we're farming another small land where we're finishing all our beef cattle. So we're trying to launch new products into the retailers. We've just gone into Tesco's with beef, and we've got a great corned beef on the market now. So lots of energy around those kind of new product areas. And doing new things. We've dusted off our flying pigs, which are our catering vehicles that we used to run about 15 years ago. And we're starting to use those out in the countryside a lot more on our own farm and in 1 or 2 other places too, so that people can go walking and then they can have a great burger or a great cup of tea or whatever it might be out in the sticks. So lots of new stuff happening as always here. And we'll hope that at least some of it succeeds.
Wow. I've only got one word, is energy. I don't know where you're finding it, but if you can bottle it, can you send me some, please? Because you're obviously got so many balls in the air, and it's very, very impressive portfolio of what you're trying to achieve at the moment. I can see another question. I can see Aled Thomas. I can see Aled. I'll take the last question from yourself, please.
Hi, Helen. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for a great presentation. I work as an agronomist down in Pembrokeshire, so obviously I do a lot with agrochemicals on a commercial aspect. And previously I have worked for Puffin Produce, which Mark Hard will tell you a lot more about later on. But what a question I would ask you is, do you think we are our own worst enemies, or the public are their own worst enemies when it comes to things like pesticides and fertilizers. And when I mean that, what I mean is, the consumers want perfect veg, but to get that perfect veg, it's very difficult to grow organically. Feeds can't contain any sort of grains with fusarium, ergot, but to be able to produce that grain, it needs to have some sort of fungicide. So what is the end goal? Should we be working more in harmony, which we obviously is we're trying to do now with this new sustainable farming type of government schemes? But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it's a particular challenge in some sectors. It's a particular challenge in horticulture and fruit, possibly less so actually in the meat sector or dairy, where I don't think you've got many quality differences, or you shouldn't have, and in grain actually, where most of it's ground up and is in bread and that kind of thing anyway. So I think it's a particular challenge where supermarkets are demanding perfection on the shelf. There's been some really interesting schemes around things like wonky veg, and people kind of we've been prepared to buy the seconds as we'd have previously thought of them. And I think there's also opportunity in looking at seconds markets, whether that's juicing or if you can split your seconds out into other processing markets where again that visual perfection isn't really an issue. So I think it's I think it is a bit of a challenge in the horticultural sector, but I think it's one we ought to get over by better marketing. If you explain to people why you've got a forked carrot or a bit of scab on an apple, actually I think people are really prepared to go with that now, and might even start to see it as a sign of those imperfections as being something that they should champion rather than disparage. But the retailers have got to help us with this.
I can see a hand up there from Emily Jones. So could I have your question, please?
Thanks, Claire. My question is for Mark. So thanks for the inspiring presentation. Your enthusiasm, motivation and agile nature to business in general certainly shone through. What's next for you and the businesses you're involved with? Are you thinking to primarily stay within the vegetable sector, or you got more plans?
Thanks, Emily. Well, my family would say my priorities are to spend more time with them, and these days I do listen to that. So that's one thing, and we've got, thankfully, a good talent pool to pick up the baton and run with that. Look, I said it in the presentation. There's so much opportunity in Wales to do more for the Welsh consumer, and potentially to think about export. And I suppose I mean export light, back to the wider UK. It's picking the right opportunities first and matching them off with the resources we've got. So I think at a farming level, there's plenty of opportunities, and I think at a puffin level, there's plenty of opportunities. And I think we will bring some other schemes forward over time. We've got our hands full at this moment in time with some big projects, and we're really excited about those. So yeah, hopefully watch this space, I guess. Hopefully there'll be some more things coming along, but maybe not me quite so much front and centre. And certainly in the case of Puffin, it's really Hugh and John that drive that business. I just do the Hollywood shift, turn up for the good bits.
Thank you very much, Mark, and also thank you, Emily, for your question. I can see a hand up from Dewi.
Yeah, hi there, good evening. Question for Mark again. And you mentioned you work with quite a few retailers and showed how they put it in their own different bags, all with Welsh flags on them. But has there ever been a point where you thought to yourself, is putting your produce in their bag undermining your brand at any point? Or is that more of an opportunity for in general? What are your thoughts and trailer thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Darry. I think it is very much a question of being pragmatic. Sometimes you really would love to put your brand in there. Brands need promoting, they need developing, and often as not, in the retail sense, branded products can be marginalized in terms of where they are on shelf, and so you're picking either to be a premium only product, but you're certainly picking a product that's likely as not going to have a lower rate of sale than the own label products, and that's a real dilemma often to decide. And I guess the place that we'd love to end up is have our cake and eat it. So to be able to do some branded tier products, and the retailers are interested in that, things that they can sell at a premium, they can make more cash margin at those. as well as doing the own label piece. And it is a bit of a constant battle. And if we got to start with a clean slate, I guess it would all be in brand. But we have to come along and kind of convince them to work with us, and some of them just will not let brands through their door. Although that is changing. It's another one of those things that we're seeing, that they're interested in having more diversity, more authenticity, more provenance on display for consumers. So yeah, I think that's the reality of it. You have to be a bit pragmatic with these things.
Great, thank you very much, Mark, and also thank you very much for the question. Can I have the next question, please? Richard. Oh, I think you might be on mute.
Right, I've got one for Melanie. I mean, almost the reverse of what Mark's just gone about there. You've spent a lot of your time with this project developing individual brands with producers. Is there a goal within Menter Moch to generate a national brand to go to the likes of the retailers and promote Welsh pork then on a national basis?
Yeah, certainly. So we've previously and regularly in contact with multiple retailers to find opportunities for the larger scale producers. I mean, as I mentioned, the pig sector is fairly small in Wales, so there is some issues around consistency and volumes of supply. In the past, we have taken groups of farmers up to Woodheads, for example, to the Morrison's team. They met the procurement team specifically looking at are there opportunities to get Welsh product on shelf. So definitely there is work going on in the background. Unfortunately, as buyers change, priorities of those buyers change, and they have their own agendas perhaps. So we're in a constant moving and changing environment, but it's something that we are, still passionate and we're looking to work with the industry on. As I mentioned, although it would be great to have increased volumes to be able to go to the multiple retailers with a solution to the problem of consistent supply, it is encouraging that there is Welsh product going through the multiple retailers, but unfortunately that is under the British brand. But second to that, we do a lot of work to promote pork produced in Wales. So we've collaborate with Hubby Key Cymru on an annual consumer-facing campaign, which takes place every January, Pork from Wales Week. So this year was the third year we ran that, and we had some really great results and buy-in from the industry. A lot of producers really got on board and retailers to promote that message. So definitely something we're working on. It would be great to see more Welsh product out there, and it would certainly be an ambition of mine met if we get some Welsh pork on the multiple butchers' counters and shelves.
Absolutely, thank you very much. We haven't got a huge amount of time left this evening, so I'll only take a couple more questions. Alice, I can see you've got your hand up. Would you like to ask the next question?
Oh, thanks, Claire. My question is more of, well, it's not really a question. It's more of just, I would encourage anybody to get involved with the Menter Moch Cymru, either scheme or just even getting in touch with Menter Moch themselves. I've been working with.
Oh, Alice, I think you've muted yourself.
Oh, sorry, I've got chunky fingers tonight. Am I back online?
You're back on, yeah.
I can't remember. I'll start again. I was just saying I would encourage anybody to get in touch with Melanie and her team at Menter Moch, whether that be Pat, Melanie or Ken. They've been really, really, really helpful with regards to us setting up a new commercial unit at home, and I couldn't recommend them enough just to get involved. Extremely helpful. I won't pose any questions to Mark because we've had several discussions over the years, so I don't think we'll keep that to that. But just more of a recommend Melanie to get in touch with Melanie if you have any questions about sort of pigs.
Oh, thank you very much, Alice. That's brilliant endorsement. Thank you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Alice, for your feedback there. It's very much appreciated by the members. And can I have the last question this evening, please? I know that. Will, I know you had a question. Are you okay to ask that, please?
Yeah, it was for Mark really. What was when did you feel like you were actually like starting to make it in what you were trying to do, like seeing your, I don't know what it is in English, seeing your...
It was like your breakthrough moment, was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent, Mark.
I don't know. I think you have to have a certain amount of paranoia. So I'm probably still looking over my shoulder even now, wondering if it's all going to come crashing down. I think that's, it's a balance between having a healthy fear of failure, but not fearing to fail. Look, I think a turning point for me personally was in 1998. I was lucky enough to do a management buyout. And I don't mind, many years on sharing some numbers. I basically borrowed 14 million quid from Barclays with 70,000 pounds of my own money. And to a young man, that seemed quite incredible that I could actually leverage that sort of borrowing. I had a business partner at the time; he put the same amount of money in, and I remember the guy from 3i Venture Capital looking me in the face and saying, "Look," he said, "it's a bit like this. We want enough money of yours involved in this so that it hurts if it all goes wrong. But we believe in you and your business partner, and we're backing you to do it. But we don't want you to have so much money tied up in this that you lie in bed at night and worry about it, because your job is to go and make a success of this business." And it was a simple comment, but the fact that I can remember it now, it's clearly stayed with me. So, it's about kind of feel the fear and do it anyway stuff, I think. And, I was whatever I was then, 34, I think, probably. It's a long time ago. In some respects, I fell into it. So, you need a bit of luck along the way for sure, Will.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mark. And I think on the theme of inspiration tonight, that has certainly left us all the more inspired. So thank you very much to our speakers tonight and for all of the questions that we've received. And